Now there are a few things to consider when tinting the mask. They're going to be whether you want your tint to be on the outside or the inside, and whether you want the tint to stop at this crease right here or extend down and around. Now, tinting the outside has the benefit of covering up any cosmetic damage like these scratches you might see here, to give you a basically pristine look. Now, if maybe you're of the opinion that those scratches are actually kind of cool, you can go ahead and tint it on the inside to maintain the damage. This lens is cut to stop at the seams, but the template that we have extends past them. The issue with tinting around these circular parts is the shape of the mask here. You're likely to have some weird bubbling trying to tint this entire thing. You could separate it so that you have one piece of tint here, and then cut off separate pieces of tint to cover this sort of triangular section. But aligning them up would be a little bit of a hassle. Before you start tinting, you're going to want to clean this thing with some kind of streakless glass cleaner and a microfiber cloth. You're going to want to get all of the streaks and dust and especially hairs and spots off of this thing before you get the tint on there. The next thing you're going to need is your tint, a squeegee or some kind of gift card will do, and some soapy water. You don't need to put a huge amount of soap in the water, you're just trying to break the surface tension of the water. Spray the surface of this that you're trying to tint, and then spray your piece of tint. This is going to allow it to slide around so that you can perfectly set it in place. There is a lip on the back of this that your tint might extend over. You don't really want it going over this lip. It won't even stay adhered. In the event that you do need to, say, cut this down to shape, I would recommend against cutting it directly on the mask, because you'll end up damaging your plastic like this. Instead, grab yourself some kind of paint marker, mark out where it needs to be cut. I tend to prefer rotary cutters or X-Acto knife types with a curved blade. This stuff will come off very easily with a little bit of soapy water, since this is such a glossy material that we're working with. Once you've got it seated in place, you're going to want to take your card or squeegee and start pushing out the water. This will also take the air bubbles with it. I would recommend going horizontally across the surface. And that's more or less it for tinting. Most of these things adhere simply with a sort of static cling. Some of them say that they're adhesive and then don't actually end up having an adhesive on them. But if you have any doubt about its ability to stick, maybe leave it sitting there for a few hours to let it properly dry before handling it any further. Well, I got a little bit of bubbling there. Hold on. Now, this is definitely the time you're going to want to check for any more air bubbles, or maybe pieces of dust that got under, or even hairs. Fix your tint before you put the hard shell back on. This is another part where, because you are pushing on the rubber seal on the outside, you might start causing the tint to bubble up again. So, this example along the edges of these wrinkles is kind of what you want to avoid having the tint dip under the soft seal. You can salvage it at this point by using your squeegee or card and attempting to sort of tuck the sticking out parts back in. Be patient and be ready to remove and readjust your lens multiple times. We're going to try to push this back under the seal before we put the outer shell on. This is a little bit harder to do if it's on the inside because you do see all the spots from the outside. So you're going to want to get it as perfect as you possibly can. It's not going super well. So we might have to take the tint off and cut it again. Oh, bubbles again. You really don't want to be touching your tint while you're doing this part. Well, let's see if this caused any bubbling. There's a little bit. But we might be able to still make this work out. That seems to be the bubbles mostly taken care of.